And remember, guys, I'm invisible, so you can just ignore me. I'll just help you keep track of the time, okay? Okay, let's start with the no team. That's you guys, right?
Right.
Let's start with persons 1 and 2, the introduction.
We're the yes team. We're the yes.
Say that again.
We're the yes team.
You're the yes team.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so let's start with that team then. Yeah. Ready? Sorry, you get your guys' phones a little too. It's recording. You ready? Whenever you guys are ready.
Okay, we want to say that so many more people wants to make money out of legalizing drugs, regardless of the health risk. Ask yourself who's going to pay for the new addicts and the treatment. We will take this money from taxes and we're going to spend it on health treatment. For the first 5-10 years, it's going to be beneficial for the economy as we're going to get a lot of revenues based on taxes, but after that, once the people start getting sick, we're going to spend most of the money in the health risk. So we're going to have a sick society without money. Okay, so the moment that you make a drug legal, you're going to increase the number of people who get exposed to it, and therefore you increase the negative consequences from its use. If we decide to legalize it, we cannot go back. Once people is addicted, you're gonna do whatever they have to get the drug. Therefore, we believe that drugs should not be legalized. Thank you.
We'll continue with Peter.
Okay, should the drugs be legalized or decriminalized? So, our team is presenting the thoughts that drugs should be legalized and decriminalized because, in our opinion, if people would be able to buy drugs easily, its consumption is going to fall down. So, try to imagine if alcohol in our country would be legal. So, in our opinion, if alcohol, cigarettes would be legal in our world, its consumption would increase higher and higher. So, we think that it would be better if the laws for drug consumption will be the same as for the consumption of cigarettes and alcohol. Also, we increase that people would be responsible over time, thinking about the amount of drugs they are able to buy and being responsible for it. So, actually, also a very good point is that drug consumption is giving a great economic boost. And so if you're going to imagine that if it's going to bring the same revenue as alcohol and cigarettes bringing, it's going to give a great economic push for the country. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. Should we move on to Lily?
Our group's opinions that drugs can never be legal because it's a very toxic chemicals and can be very addictive to young people. There are some stories about people who have once exploded to the drugs and they cannot get rid of them for their full life. In the end, they spend all their monies, their families, and all their relationships on ways of finding the drugs, how to satisfy them. She said they ended up living in the streets and sleeping in cardboard boxes, begging and struggling to find ways to the next meal. In the end, we've got some things. They thought find out, as for the drugs or life, they choose life. So that's why the drugs can never be legalized. That's why the drugs can never be exported to more and more people. As we have saw, once the smoking and alcohols, now once they're legal, there's so much people that have exploded to that. Like 10 years before, when you're just walking on the streets, how many people you will find out that are pounding cigarettes and smoking? The air is full of the white air that you feel so bad for that. When did that happen stop? It's when the laws that says smoking in public areas, it's not legal anymore. So that's why I believe drugs can never be legalized.
Thanks, Ellie. Alright. Who's up next? Don't forget, guys, just to make eye contact with your team, with the other team, right, as you're speaking.
Okay. Why do I think drugs should be legalized? Because actually my cousin, he's schizophrenic, and as some drugs might make it worse, some drugs might cure it. Not cure it, but like make it better. Some drugs do have like such as cocaine and weed can like make schizophrenia worse, but some other drugs can make it better. And LSD can help with PTSD, and weed with PTSD, cancer, glaucoma, and more. If drugs were if drugs were legalized, they would have a quality check, like in the stores. They sold in the stores. They would have a quality check, so you would know what you're getting instead of just getting around the street. And the taxes from the drugs could be inverted to rehab centers or taking down the illegal market of drugs. Minors wouldn't get the hands like as easy on the drugs because how many drug dealers do you know that ask for an ID? And that's it. Thank you so much.
Should we pause for a question and answer?
Okay.
Okay. We'll start with Lily's team. I'll give you about 2 or 3 minutes to ask questions and answer. Remember, everyone should participate. If you're thinking of a question you want to ask, you can write it down.
Where did you get the information that if we legalize drugs, the consume is going to drop? Because that makes no sense. When you legalize drug, everyone has contact with it and the consume increase. And why more people smoke tobacco than crack is because tobacco is in every store. Therefore,
No, like in Portugal, all drugs are decriminalized, and the amount of consumption has like gone down. A lot of people consume drugs because they're like, oh, it's illegal. I do this because it's illegal.
Yeah,
It's fun.
during my speech, I've noticed that we believe that people would take responsibility on this thing, on the amount of drug they're buying, on the amount of drugs they can have, actually, this kind of stuff. Because over time, we really believe that people would get used to it, like to consume drugs in a good amount. That's
they're gonna be used to be drug addicted.
no, not drug addicted. Being responsible for things they're doing. So it's the same thing as if you're not responsible for consumption of alcohol, you're becoming alcoholic, right? The same thing is happening with the drug consumption. If you're buying over, you may like these things you will handle, you're becoming drug addicted.
But right now we have like the 2 major drugs like tobacco and alcohol. We can see how people are not able to handle themselves. Like there are a bunch of alcoholic people and all the rest are addicted. If we add 10 more drugs, we're gonna see how these people are gonna be alcoholic and they're gonna smoke, they're gonna have crack and cocaine consume.
The same thing, I can say the same thing about alcoholic. Like people are drinking alcohol too much, so it doesn't mean that people need to make alcohol illegal. Everything depends on people's attitude to it and like how people actually treat
So
it.
why do you think we should legalize drugs?
Because like I'm saying that there's like except personal reasons, there's also economic reasons. I already told you that. Like for example, as far as I know, like Amsterdam is doing $13 billion per year by selling marijuana. And like in case with drugs and like why we should legalize the drugs, because first of all, as I already told, like it's simply the laws of economics. Like if supply of the drugs will increase, So if like you may be able to buy it everywhere, its demand is going to fall down. So the amount of people who are using drugs will fall down, basically, because like every time it happens.
Yeah, but the equilibrium point that we're gonna find is way on top of the actual supply or demand. So even if we decrease the demand because it's legal, until it reaches the equilibrium, the supply is gonna be way higher. So
Yeah, but
more people is gonna consume drugs.
yeah, but anyways, like imagine like you like buying drugs and like it's really hard to get them. You only may get in small amount, but in this case, like you may easily buy them,
So
and
I put more on myself.
it does not trust you anymore. Like okay, you will come one day to the shop buy drugs, next day, but you're not gonna go every day buying drugs.
So that's what's
I don't
going
think it's
on
worse,
with the
at least.
cigarettes, with the tobaccos and alcohol. They're legal. And do you think is there any people started to get rid of alcohol or tobaccos after if it's legal? No, they're getting rid of it because it's becoming illegal. It's becoming illegal to smoke in the public areas. It's only legal to smoke in certain areas, and that's why we don't see so much people still smoking on the streets. And alcohol is the same thing, because in some Europe countries, we have an earlier age that we can expose to alcohol. Did you see so much people were just spending their times getting drunk and getting alcoholized just to get rid of their pressure at night in their colleges? And where the countries we have exposed to alcohol later, we have the less problem about that. So do you think that getting drugs legalized is causing what kind of problems? It's causing more people to explode to drugs. They're not decreasing those people's and amount the use of drugs. It's gonna increase it. And also drugs are very different from alcoholic and tobaccos because they're addictive, they're toxic chemicals. They can kill people in much more smaller amount than the alcoholic and tobacco.
Any response?
I mean,
Also, I'm not finished yet.
Well, let them respond to your
Okay.
question. So,
okay, put it this way. What if you're like, I don't know, like one of your family members, your dad, your mom, or whatever, had PTSD, and like couldn't sleep at night, had like bad dreams and like everything. What would you do? And the only cure was a drug. Would
We
you
always
buy
can
drugs?
find other cures
Would you
instead
buy
of
drugs?
drugs.
Would you buy drugs?
We can always find other cures.
But if you have medical prescription, then this drug is not illegal.
What if the prescription is like not as effective as the illegal drug?
Yeah, sometimes it
Would
actually.
you want to legalize drugs?
But that's not affecting the majority of the people. I don't know anyone who needs these illegal drugs to survive or to feel better. Legalizing drugs will affect all the population, and we're gonna talk this. Like to help this 0.1%, we have to harm this other 1% who's gonna become addicted.
But it's the same thing as like talking about the alcohol. Like every year, like thousands of people are dying because of alcohol. Because like other people who are not dying, there is a simple margin in the one who dies. Because
Like,
they're
yes.
not responsible at all, like of their actions, what they do, of the dose they're taking, and this kind of stuff. Like because of the drugs consumption and drugs legalization, also the same tendency is going to be continued.
You would have like if we legalize drugs, you would have like a safe environment to try drugs, like a store or something that is like.
But people are not responsible. If they already die because they drink too much vodka, don't expect them to give cocaine and hey, you can control yourself. You can say,
Right.
yeah, I got you.
But that's just a minority of people. It's not not how can I say this? Not everyone. How do you say it? Like self-discipline. Like everyone has self-discipline. Like the people who cannot control themselves is just a minority.
Yeah, it doesn't work like this. You take like a little like amount of drugs or like amount average for a person, and you just die immediately.
This is what I try to say. There's a difference between drugs and alcohol because drugs are addictive.
Alcohol is
So
also a type
So
of
when
drug.
you're facing on drugs,
And
it's
coffee.
even more harder to control yourself after you have exposed to that.
Yes.
Well,
So
alcohol,
the situation is
nicotine.
only gonna be worse.
You think alcohol is not addicted?
Of
Cigarettes
course,
are not
alcohol
addicted.
is addictive,
So what's the
but
difference?
drugs are more addictive than alcohol or tobacco.
But alcohol is a type of drug too.
How do
Yeah,
you know this?
It's
one?
much lighter drugs than compared to the
What
other
about-
types of drugs.
What about Mary Jane?
What is that?
marijuana,
Who is that?
Cannabis.
cannabis.
大麻，
You need to tell me about her story before.
大麻，骂大麻。
She's a plant.
She's a plant, yeah?
Her name is marijuana.
Yeah? Yeah?
She's green.
Yeah?
You
What
know
will she do to people?
Huh?
What will she do to people?
What?
After you consume, what will they do to people?
Marijuana really is a drug.
You know marijuana, the drug?
I know what it is, but do you know what it will do to people?
Yes. What do you think it does?
It does. At first, this kind, I forgot the name, I cannot remember that, but I know this kind of drug at first was used on painkillers. But after that, people found out they're so addictive to that kind of drug, they cannot get rid of it. And that's why it's become the drug.
Opioids. What opioids? Okay, guys, should we take a pause there?
Wait.
Okay, Max, you want a question? One more question, then we'll move on to the next section.
So you say that like if we legalize drugs, everyone would like be taking drugs and like doing cocaine on the streets, no? So
Of course, people
why
will do that.
why did Portugal's like we have a like
Hey, don't expose my speech.
but, like,
But there
in
has
Portugal it went down like everything.
Yeah, like if you're gonna walk,
Like drug consumption and what's it called? STDs.
Maybe
And
it's
then
because
wait.
people had a higher education on drugs that everyone know that they shouldn't expose it to drugs.
You're saying
But I
that
don't
If
think other
we
people
legalize drugs,
might
the
think
tax from those drugs could go to
yes and no.
educating people.
And also, if you visit Amsterdam, and I visited a few times, and I've never seen people smoking marijuana, which is legalized in Amsterdam, outside.
wait, and also you're saying that legalizing drug, people will just do it on the street. Do you see random people? Like yes, sometimes you do see people drinking
I do
alcohol.
see
Wait,
so many people
well,
trying to smoke
let me
in
finish.
school.
Let me finish. You see people like drinking and smoking. Do you see the majority of people drinking on the street or the minority? Like, do you see a lot of people, everyone drinking on the street? No.
In the English.
No, because I never see any people drinking on the street.
Huh?
Because I just don't go where people started their drinks. I just don't go there. I just don't see them. So I don't think my point of view on this question can help to answer
So you will not
this
see these people.
because I never see them. I never see any single person drinking because I just don't want to.
Do you drink?
I just think it's safe for me, so I just didn't do that.
Okay, guys,
Right.
thanks for that. Keep thinking of questions. We'll have a longer section for the person 6 attack counter argument, and you guys will have a chance to plan a counter attack and ask questions. So we'll come up to that after the next section. So let's invite person 5, the data presentation.
Hello. So I'm not gonna say much, but this diagram here,
You want to show them?
yeah, let's take a look. This diagram is representing the rate at which people were getting deaths from overdose from 1999 till 2017, and you can see that it's steadily increasing. And you can see the trend between women and men also on the graph. And also, we can see that the rate keeps increasing, and it's another proof why drugs should not be legalized.
Show your team.
This one.
Do you know where the graph, what population is it in a specific country or the source of the graph?
No, I don't know.
Portugal.
So according to the statistics provided, do you think it's worth to legalize all of the drugs even if weed can't give you overdose? And there's also one more graph I prefer to show you, which shows overall harm of selected drugs. There's also alcohol and other drugs in this graph. Here you can see. Please take a look. By orange you can see that it is harm to the others, and by blue you can see that it is harm to the users.
So I provided you with two graphs which are supposed to change your opinion on legalizing drugs, at least because they can not only harm the person who is taking them, but also other people who will be affected by the trip of a person who took them. And yeah, that's it. Think about it.
Thanks.
So legalizing and discriminalizing drugs can drop the death rate related to drugs, crime rate related to drugs, and drug-related HIV infections. Using an example, the country Portugal, in 2011, they started this policy basically saying that they won't get into any trouble by using drugs. And then it's already been around 18 years, a bit more than that, and so far it's working very good. In the statistics provided by New York Times, European Monitoring Center of Drugs and Drug Addictions, and Transform Drug Policy Foundation, we can see that in 2014, I cannot find more recent statistics, so I'm going to use 2014. In 2014, the death per million people aged 15 to 64 in Portugal is only 6. And it is one of the lowest in Europe and in the world.
That's right.
Yes, the graph on the left. And then the second thing about crime rate, I didn't find a graph about it, but it's from Transform Drug Policy Foundation. It says that drug-related crime rate has significantly dropped. Before 2000, before they started the policy, there are around 14,000 people per year, 14,000 crime per year. And after they started the policy, now there's only 5.5k and to 6,000 of people. And then last, the graph at the right, drug-related HIV infections, it dropped from 50% in 2000 to 5% in 2015. So you guys are saying that legalizing and discriminating drugs will cause more problems, but using Portugal as an example, I don't see a problem there. Thank you.
Thanks, Henry. Right, guys. Now we'll come to the attack part. So I'm going to ask you guys to work together for 5 minutes as a team, you three, and based on some of the things you heard from the other team, do a quick bit of research and prepare some questions that you would like to ask the other team in addition to addressing or attacking their specific ideas. So I'll give you 5 minutes to work together. Each person should have at least one question written down to ask. So I'll give you a little piece of paper to write down your question. And you can start working on that. Write down your questions here. So if you want to look up any of the data that was presented, what was your graph? Who had the other graph?
Me.
No, who's the graph on this side? Max, you have your graph?
Graph?
Yeah, the second one. I'm just, the other one, didn't that one say, like, suggest that alcohol should be illegal too then?
Yeah.
Which is sort of strange, because I mean, it says down here, like, I don't know, I just thought that was interesting. So if alcohol is legal, couldn't that suggest that if it's the most damaging, according to that graph?
Yes.
Did you guys notice that the graph did not show that the most damaging drug was alcohol?
Yes.
Isn't that sort of ironic because it is legal?
Yes.
But like it's because of like it messes up your brain, but then there's like also car accidents, no? Like drunk driving, like.
Sure, that's some specific.
Yes, specifically just how
Any research you guys can do quickly? See if there's any challenge any of the data. There are any statistics on crime in Portugal? It's really related to. Got about 1.5 more minutes. Good one. You got ready?
Такой строчит. Тебе. You need to come up with a question.
Alright guys, that's good. We'll just open it up. Anyone can ask a question and respond. Give everyone a chance on your team to ask a question though. We've got 9 minutes and then we'll finish up with our closing statements. Go ahead.
So, I can ask the first question. So, how do you think we can decrease the amount of drugs consumption all over the world without legalizing it? So, in our case, we presented the idea that if like drugs would be sold on the like world market, its consumption is going to be decreased because the demand is going to fall because of the high supply. But how do you think we can decrease its consumption without legalizing it?
Teaching people is through education. It's not through making it legal and making it legal. It's like they're gonna understand that it's bad. Because for most of the people, when a drug is legal, like alcohol, they're gonna say, well, if it's legal, it's not that bad.
It
So
seems
then
that
they consume it.
it seems that people still don't understand.
But like all your parents tell you, like I'm pretty sure that everyone's parents say like, oh, don't do drugs, it's bad. Like,
And is it working?
No.
Therefore, if we have more than 5, it's going to be the same effect.
then like still look at Portugal's example.
Again, in my opinion, all of the children are behaved. In this case, they behaved similar. So their parents are telling them what they have to do and what they don't have to do. But again, like as soon as they grow up, everything depends on their choice. The same thing is about legalizing all the drugs. Everything depends on your choice. If you want to kill yourself and buy as much drugs as you can buy, and after die because of overdose, it's your choice. It's your responsibility. The same thing as you can die because of overdose of alcohol or even cigarettes. Like okay, like maybe I'm just drinking a bit, but anyways.
Yeah, but I don't know, give an example. Maybe you drink and you smoke, because marijuana is not legal here, but if you go to the States, you're gonna drink. Well, but not in the school, not in the school. If you go to the States, where it's legal and no one is gonna do a drug test, you're gonna drink, you're gonna smoke, and you're gonna smoke weed as well. So if we had another drug as well, you're gonna do 4 things. And if we had another one, maybe you do 5. And it's not that does not mean that everyone is gonna take all the legal
Wait, I have a
drugs,
question.
but we're gonna increase the consumer.
You, like, you're saying you as three of us, or you're saying people in general?
Anyone. Like anyone who,
Like, not
because
every.
you said people has options that once they get in contact with drugs, the drug is strong. It's like when you were drunk, you have no control over your drug. There's anything can happen. It's you do. You're
There's an example.
Can I turn it over to the other one? You guys want to ask a question back?
Right, I found something about the Portugal cases about how they legal drugs. It's because in the beginning, they had the highest rate in the world of using illegal drugs, and there is problem of using heroin and people with HIV infections is also the highest rate in the world, and that's what. Why is that? Because they have laws that is so strict that even if you want to buy a Coca-Cola, you need a lesson.
You need a what?
A lesson to buy the Coca-Cola because it's somehow related to the drugs. So and that's why it started to legalize drugs. It's not because they are legalized drugs that they are not they are illegalized all over the world. It's because they're just trying to legalize the things that is happened.
They didn't legalize. They decriminalized.
Yeah, they started what to do the decriminalize because they think their rules of like they need to get every kind of chemicals like including painkillers and also something just normal with
Okay.
a Schneider or Coca-Cola can be free just with a little reminder of the doctor or just a little fine of the police to show, okay, you're just doing fine, it's not that dangerous. And that's why it's become, that's why it's become
Because like you're just repeating what you're
Because
saying.
they're-
I'm
yeah,
just saying like
I am repeating because
Like our
I'm
team-
not thinking about what. Just let me finish. Stop.
No, I think the idea was to ask a question and let them respond. Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So like while we were preparing for these debates, we made a long research about this problem, about especially case studies in
Yes.
Portugal. But you just search it on the internet and you just like reading from the website, and
Yeah,
you can
maybe
clearly
from
see
one
this.
side, cut the Guardian.
Yes, like you're still.
Guardian.
Yes, and then also even though Portugal was like as what you said, I don't know where you get the information from. Like
You just choose a random article, you just like, read through it. But
Yes,
Henrik, for
even
example,
though-
he spent
yes.
2 hours finding the research.
even though like
It's illegal.
wait, even though you said Portugal was like the highest drug used country before, but look at the effect, right? Like look at the effect after they
Did you ever
decriminalized
compare,
drugs. They become one of wait, let me finish. They become one of the lowest in Europe.
So,
And you
so if you want to
Europe-
repeat the political
Europe, that's
situation to the whole world, we need to increase all the criminalization of using drugs, and they started to decrease. Do you think that worsened?
It works, but what you do?
I have a question. For you, what's the worst drug? Like, what's the harm you the most?
I've never taken drugs. I would know.
Like, what? Me neither. What do you think?
I've never taken drugs. None of my families had ever taken drugs. None of us started to smoke or use alcohol. So how should I know?
You have a question with that, Max? Then?
Yes. Okay. Maxime, if you pull up your graph, you see that alcohol is the worst. The one that harms you the most and the one that harms other people the most.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And why is it legal?
And why are all the other legal
I don't know,
drugs?
I'm looking at T-Bucks. No, because
What about one more minute?
I just think that
Because
since it's legal, okay, I know, because this shows us the statistics about the overall harm of like chemicals
Okay,
and
I'll
drugs.
answer to that
Can
question.
I say that?
Okay.
Of chemicals and drugs on people. And since heroin and crack cocaine and methamphetamine are not legal, of course the amount of overall harm is going to be less because alcohol is legal, so it is much more easier for people to buy it, and then the overall harm is more.
Interesting.
But like,
as is legal, more people will use alcohol, therefore the harm is bigger.
So how does that connect to your argument then?
Therefore, if we increase, if we make other drugs legal, we can see how alcohol is going to be in the top one. Because maybe cocaine is going to be in the top one, as when people consume cocaine, they become aggressive or something, and then it can harm other users and yourself, because then you go to jail or you can get fired.
I gotta stop there, guys, to finish the closing arguments. We've got 5 more minutes, so let's go ahead and finish up. Whoever can wrap up your conclusions. If we have a few more minutes, we can have
we should do this in double figure.
Okay. Let's invite someone from this team to make your concluding arguments, your concluding.
So Portugal's legalization, decriminalization, has led to less deaths and less STDs in the past 3 years. If drugs were to be legalized, you would know what you're taking instead of going to a random guy in the street and asking for MDMA and you get tramadol.
That's true.
And it also would bring job opportunities, I think, and like as tax could be inverted to rehab centers, and that's like more jobs, and like people could sell the legal drugs, like the drugs in the stores, so it makes more jobs. Thank you.
Thanks, Max. Closing arguments for the people, Tony?
To give an example, we know that legalizing cannabis could make the United States between 50 and 130 billions of dollars annually. That looks like a lot of money, but if we consider only cancer treatments that go from $10,000 to $65,000 each month for just the treatment for the drug, and some people requires more than one drug, we can see how this money is not enough. There are currently almost 2 million persons in the States who has cancer, and if we follow this cost, that without considering the doctors, the surgery and all that, only for treatment once they're healing themselves. To have some data, in Spain, we spend 7 billion euros only in cancer, and Spain is like 8 times smaller than States. Also, cannabis are restricted, and the stronger drugs are completely legal. So there are more points, because if I'm in the future, I'm the boss of the company or another employee, I don't want my partners to be able to come to the job with cocaine because it's legal. Then they can consume cocaine and then go to work or drive, because it's not affecting only us, it's affecting everyone around us. And when you talk about Portugal, you could say that you talk about Portugal as a country where drugs are legal, and that's why if they have lower or low ratio of people who take drugs, then we should legalize all drugs. But we can say that, I don't know why you talk about that. Portugal is not legal, they're restricted, therefore you cannot buy drugs on the supermarket, and you cannot buy drugs anywhere. You have to buy drugs illegally, but once you have drugs and the police cut you, you don't go to jail. Maybe you go to a rehab center. So therefore, Portugal is not the place to go because they're not legal. We don't have any country where all drugs are like legal, and we can take them as, okay, if this country is doing good, then we're gonna do it. Therefore, we believe that drug should not be legal, and we don't have any stronger point to consider why they should be legal. Merci beaucoup.
Alright, I think there's another round of applause, guys. An interesting question to think about
Is what do you think, Mr.
What do I think? Doesn't matter what I think.
Yes, it does.
No,